Hey, yo. That's not that. That's when I'm Scott Hall. It's Chelsea at the movies! Yay!
We did go and see It Chapter 2. Kelsey, why were we not excited to go out and see this movie?
Well, because I didn't like It Chapter 1, and I didn't like It when it was on TV a long time ago when I was a kid, and in general, Stephen King stories I don't really get into that much. I don't think they're very good.
Yeah. So what happened is I didn't grow up. I had never seen the previous installments of the book or the adaptation of the book It. So when the first in this 2-part series came out, it got really good reviews, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. So one day I come home with the red box, and I'm like, hey, Kelsey, we're going to have a double feature. And I don't remember what the second movie was, but the first one was It, and Kelsey was like, aw.
But I did not want to see it.
Like, he totally didn't want to see it, and I was like, oh, really? Like, it got really good reviews. Anyway, we watched it. We were a little bored by it, and we tried to make some, we tried to, fill in some gaps of why, maybe it was a good movie. So then It Chapter 2 comes along, and I'm like, man, this is a really big movie that came out of the theater. We do have this, we do these movie reviews. We saw it. It follows a group of children from a rural town somewhere. It's Maine. Remember, I kept showing their phones.
Derry, Maine.
Yeah. There's this specific town where this evil has kind of a hold, and every 27 years, I think, this evil kills a bunch of kids.
Gosh, even hearing you talk about it is so boring.
And so this group of kids finds a way to kind of deal with this evil. All right, Kelsey, go wait or skip.
Skip this movie. The shortest way I can say it is that it sucked, and then It Too sucked. See, T-O-O. Okay.
All right. I'm also gonna say skip this movie. Now, this isn't to say that it wasn't well made. We recently watched the honest trailers for the other movie adaptation.
Definitely watch that. It's funny.
And yes, we've come a long way in special effects. This movie is made visually much, much better. I also thought the characters, the dialogue, the way it was filmed, transitioning from scene to scene. I thought all of that. This was a high-level film. It was good quality. But, the story, I just don't get it. I'm like, okay, there's an evil...
He's magic.
...represented by this clown in this town.
He's magic, but somehow he can't kill you.
Well, he does.
But I'm like, if you're magic, this should be a pretty short movie.
I don't understand the point of it. What is the movie about? You just showed me evil and, gave me some kind of hokey, we all stuck together and we're friends and we love each other and that's how we defeated evil. It was hokey to me, and I don't get the why. What are you trying to say to me? Is this just to give me jump scares? I don't get the point. That's why I say skip. Spoilers.
This movie really sucked. I didn't
First of all, it's 2 hours and 49 minutes.
It's long.
Know that.
Know that going into it. Also, I didn't like the first movie. But I was like, well, I mean, it's not like we're going to have to relive what events in the first movie over and over again. But then we totally did do that. And I was like, this is
lots of flashbacks.
Opposite of what I wanted. I didn't care. So the cast in this movie, I thought was well cast. And I thought all of them did a good job with what they were given. Mm-hmm. And so part of me, when we were going to see it, I was like, well, it has a good cast. And so maybe it's a continuation of the story, but it's going to be different somehow. Anyway, it totally wasn't. And it just kept calling back to the first movie, which I did not enjoy. Magic like this is not scary to me because it isn't real. And if it is real, if this clown is super magical, then killing these people shouldn't have been that difficult, right? It was just more about scaring people.
Didn't make sense.
I'm only scaring you, but not going to kill you, and I think that's dumb.
Yeah, the clown could have, if these were the kids that were going to defeat the clown, then wouldn't you just kill them immediately?
It's like if Rachel would just jump out of places all the time and try to scare me. Eventually I'd just be like, this isn't scary, Rachel.
Well, that was the other thing, because I feel like in real life you become acclimated to certain things. So you will be aware of this if you look around people become acclimated if they grow up in dysfunctional, abusive
yeah.
households
Yeah.
where they think it's normal.
Right.
Or they're like, oh, this person loves me. Yeah, they hit me and abuse me, but they love me because that's their normal.
Right.
They're not scared. You take somebody that comes from a healthier home life and put them in that home, and they're like, what the, what is going on here? It is shocking to them. So if we just kind of transpose that onto this movie situation, why are, like, yeah, there's this evil clown and this is your daily life. Like, there is stuff going on and it's scary, but wouldn't you, like, not be scared after a while? Like, that's the part that, like, didn't make sense to me. It seems like they should have more easily acclimated.
Stephen King is an incredibly popular writer. And I just want to state that the last Stephen King book or short story I read was a long, long time ago when I was a kid. So, probably, because he's so popular and sold so many books, probably they have a hard time translating what he writes in books to the big screen, because there must be a reason why he's one of the biggest selling authors of all time. So I'm not knocking you if you love Stephen King's work. He's super popular. I can't speak to it. But this movie, and maybe, so that's what, this movie was made super well, right? I don't know.
This movie was just lacking depth.
Depth.
Like, I just didn't get, like, okay, so what does the
phony depth
clown represent? Because at no point, so for my belief system, sometimes you can bring in religion to help draw out some depth. This movie, at no single point, like with the exception of one of the kids being Jewish, but they don't bring in the Jewish religion. It's just like never mentioned. So it's just like these kids versus this evil. And then, like in the first movie,
the evil came from outer space.
Right. Like, I'm like, I don't understand. Like, why is it here? Like, there just wasn't, just no depth to it. I didn't understand the why. And then in the first movie, you could kind of like fill in the gaps and be like, okay, through friendship, through love, through being courageous, that's how they like overpowered this evil, right? Well, it turns out that it wasn't like a lasting thing. The clown came back in 27 years. For all I know, that would have been like when they overpowered it was the natural like time he would have receded into like whatever he does.
Didn't they kind of do the same thing in this one? Is he going to come back again?
Well, like he could, because that's totally like an option. You can write it. But in this one, it's like they all came together. But then they had to make the clown believe it was small.
Only through the power of bullying.
Right. So they call it names. They call it like a weak old woman. They call it just a clown. They like a lot of cursing.
Don't forget the one guy's contribution, which was committing suicide.
Yeah, one guy commits suicide, and that was his contribution to the whole thing because he would have been too afraid to join them.
Because killing himself was easier than overcoming his fear.
Right.
That's a good message.
Exactly. So, like, I just couldn't get, like, what was the, like, this movie wasn't edifying. There wasn't, like, a good, like, I couldn't, like, grasp, like, whatever it was. So I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about there was one scene in the movie that, like, blew me away.
That was funny
it was so
and awesome.
Unexpected.
Yeah, there was. That's what makes this movie frustrating, though, was that they had all the pieces, they had the money, they had the actors. Why couldn't they put together? I mean, theoretically, this is a story that's popular.
If you watch this and you've read the book It, please tell us: is there something more depth in the book It, or does the depth just not exist, and that's why they couldn't have had it in the movie unless they rewrote it? Like, had a screenwriter come in and be like, we're going to add this depth in here because this movie is lacking otherwise. But the scene that was just, like, great, it came out of nowhere, is we get all these, I mean, the reason the movie was so long, we get individual scenarios with each kid that involves, like, a partial, like, present time and flashback. And they each get, like, their own, like, 15, 20-minute thing that they go through.
Oh, that's a full 15 or 20 minutes, people.
And it involves, like, something evil and scary happening while they go out to get their tokens for this ritual they're going to, like, do later. One of the kids, it's the kid that is a hypochondriac. He's at the pharmacy. He decides to go into this room. Like, why would you do that? He already had it.
He had to get his token.
No, he already had it.
Totem.
It was his inhaler, which he got from the pharmacist.
Because he was interested.
So he goes in, and of course, like, this mummy or decrepit, like, looking thing comes out there after him. And he, like, is terrified, scared. and then he starts to strangle it, right?
Yeah.
And he has it up against this wall, and he's strangling. It comes to this moment where he might like destroy it, but then all of a sudden, everything switches, and the music comes on, and it's "You Can Just Call Me Angel."
Just call me angel in the morning. Like, it was awesome.
And it was like really like a really good quality version of that song. And then the thing like just vomits like
I don't know.
black goo like all over this guy. And he's a hypochondriac, so that's why it's like a big deal.
It was
like
awesome.
It's all over him. But like that was like didn't belong in this movie. You know what I mean?
I mean,
like,
it was awesome though. It's the high
to
point of
have
the movie.
That song against like what was happening visually on the screen was fantastic. Nothing else like that happened in this movie.
Yeah.
I'm like, where did you come from? And like, anyway.
I just can't identify with that. I guarantee you, if I'm ever in an it situation with a crazy clown doing nut stuff to me, that clown's getting a 1-2, right? I mean, eventually, you know what I mean? Like, maybe at first you're kind of like, oh no. But eventually, like, I'm going to step up and throw a 1-2 at that clown's face and see what happens. I don't see why people don't do that in movies.
Or
I'm like, why don't you just try? Just take a swing.
You're being chased or followed or attacked by an evil clown. Guess who I'm bringing along? A priest. That's what I'm starting with. Guess who who I'm maybe calling out to? God at any point to be like, hey, even if I'm like a agnostic or maybe if I'm even an atheist, I might be like, hey, God, you there? Because this is the time.
It's me, Margaret.
I'm just saying this never happened in the whole movie. And I'm like, oh, these people are like put up against the wall and they're like involved in like, you know, big, deep like pools of blood and being drowned in dirt and like all this crazy like, you know, beheaded like spider things and babies that look like crabs. Nobody calls out.
I just want to point out, if you're watching this and you're like, what should I do? You should definitely do what Rachel's option was. My thing is the 1-2, right? I'm going to go for that. But yeah, that's probably the better thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, in my own like belief
just saying
system,
what I would do.
I feel fully confident that it'd be like, all right, I'm not equipped, but guess who is equipped?
Although I do believe in the power of hope and grace. Hope and grace. I did it. Please. What?
All right, so there's our review of It Chapter 2.
So basically, don't go see it. Maybe the only redeeming thing I can say, if you really love this story, like, and this is the story, if this is the story in the book, and you want to see it on the big screen, I can understand that. But if you're just a moviegoer, you can just skip this. No, it ain't worth it.
3 hours of your life, just like
never getting that back.
Yeah.
Movie maker. I do want to say that Bill Hader is in the movie is awesome. The whole cast is pretty good. I forget the guy's name.
The guy that did Split.
Yeah.
He was in it. He played like the
redheaded lady.
Yeah, I forget her name, but she's been in a lot.
We don't know people's names, but they did a good job. So good job in this movie. You did the best you could. It's not your fault. It actually got a pretty decent Rotten Tomato score, I think, like 60.
It's like around 60.
So
not like as good as the first one.
I know what they got.
Okay.
They got that cash money, huh?
I will tell you, had it dropped a few points in the 50s, we'd be seeing a Rotten Tomato there. So just keep that in mind.
Which would
60
seem more.
is just a little bit like, but you see the fresh tomato and you're like, oh, that means it's good. It was a few points away from being rotten, though.
Yeah, it was rotten. Well, you know it's not rotten?
When you like, comment, and subscribe.
That's right.
It really helps the channel grow. And guys, we really want the channel to grow. It's not been growing. We want it to grow. Help our channel grow. And especially, like, we do a direct upload to Facebook. I'm asking you, just click the link and subscribe. It's really, really helpful. And that is a good deed you can put out into the world.
Yeah, well, take it. Call me angel in the morning. Call me angel in the morning. Call me angel in the morning. Call me angel.